Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my driveway into another beautiful day of sawmilling. Today's theme is going to be do as I say, not as I do. So this unassuming piece of ugly cherry is from the cherry tree that I salvaged in Iowa, and it's been 4 years now, and this log has been sitting around for that long. And you know, one of the things that everybody asks is like, how long do you let logs sit around before you saw them? You really should let them sit around more than maybe a couple of years. And this one's been sitting around for 4 years. It has been in the log pile, which is partially shaded, but I think this one's been sitting on top of the pile so they get some full sun during the day, and that really bakes the outside of the log, causing the exterior shell of the log to dry. That interior shell isn't drying at all, or barely drying compared to the outer skin or outer area of the log. So the outside is shrinking, but the inside is getting smaller. So as the outside shrinks at a certain point, the stress from the shrinkage will exceed the strength of the wood, and you'll start to get all these splits that run in here, and those go pretty darn deep. So the lumber cut out of logs like this, they have a lot of defect in them because they got splits, and you got to cut really deep to get past those. I'm not too worried about it because a lot of the stuff that I'm using for myself, and this cherry is all for me, gets cut up into furniture parts, so I can usually kind of work around those, or I can incorporate those and just use some epoxy to kind of fix those areas up. So it's all to say, don't neglect your logs, leave them sitting out and degrade and turn into this. So my plan for this one is, this one's got this really cool kind of S curve in here. So what I want to do for this guy is to incorporate that curvature. So if I have projects in the future where I have a arch, like an arched rail or something, like a long arched rail kind of thing, I can utilize those areas, and then the grain will actually follow that arch because the grain actually curves through the board. So I'm not really going to pay attention to all of the little nubbins and things that are coming off of here, trying to get some figure out of those. I'm purely looking for the curvature of the log. So I'm going to roll this thing so I can get the S curve in the right spot. So basically I have two opposing curves for future work to work with. I don't know what I would do with something that is, 8 feet long and has a giant S curve in it, but hey, there's always, options for things in the future. So this side of the log is sitting down kind of low right now. So I'm going to just pick up this side a little bit, get it positioned against the stops, and finalize my roll angle, and then we should be good to go. All right, let's saw. All right, let's see what we got in this first cut. Completely missed. Okay, no real surprise because we've cut so much of this tree already, but we got some really nice deep red, very clear cherry. Not a whole lot going on, but you can see how deep the stress fractures get. So that's there. Up here, we have basically a rot pocket. This is an old limb that was collecting water. So we're gonna see a bunch of rot kind of infiltrating down through the slabs as we go. So this will get further and further down in that direction the further we get. And then this is just some more look at the stress fractures. So that's kind of what I guess that's what we're in for, at least. I'm just gonna roll this thing over and get some more slices made. It's still cherry. Oh, I got some little burls. Tiny little itty bitty burls. Okay, so again, clear cherry on this side. Interesting note is down here, you can see this discoloration all through here. That is the rot infiltration from that open wound. So we're gonna have a lot of rot kind of up in this area. But it looks like this side's gonna be hopefully not too rotty. So we'll be able to have a nice curved piece from this section here, which will be, that's really what I'm after right here. It's just this little strip right here. What is this guy? Some kind of little worm thing, huh? So based off of where we made that cut, I have enough throat depth to make all the cuts on this log without touching anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We are gonna be making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cuts. And these are gonna be cut at the double 4/4. So it is 2 pieces of 4/4 plus the blade kerf that would have been removed by making those 2 pieces of 4/4. So the thickness ends up around 2 3/8 of an inch thick. All right, that's all the cuts. Let's see what we got. All right, let's get some water going here, and we can start taking a look at some wood. I looked at this guy already, so I'm gonna get it out of the way. Looks like cherry. It's like unapologetically cherry. Ooh, some crotch. That's nice. I like some crotch. Trying to go for like shoot it over the camera, but that didn't work. So this is kind of interesting because we have this crotch feather thing going on here. And we also have these like spalt lines in this kind of area here, which is pretty cool. And you can see this kind of darker sort of section through here. This is all rot staining. So this is kind of degraded. And then you have that stain, which keeps coming up through here, kind of dissipates a little bit and then picks up again up here. That's from that, whatever, that rot hole thing up there. So this is still solid, but it's stained to this much darker red, which is kind of a cool effect. I do like that with cherry. Is like anywhere that's near any sort of rot, it gets this rot staining, and it actually takes the color and darkens it up quite a bit. I used a section of rot stained cherry for the drawer fronts on the Highboy, and I thought that gave a pretty cool look because they had this much deeper, darker red, especially in the beginning before the cherry has a chance to oxidize and become a lot more darker and richer. That stained area looks like aged cherry from day one. This is looking pretty good. We got some nice curve in the grain here, so this is all I was really after, is this and a little bit of this down here. Okay, quite a bit more rot as we get towards the that hole right there. So this is all basically gone, and that staining continues all the way down through here. But this is still solid, but discolored. But you can see the difference between, like, there's the sapwood, this is the normal heartwood, fresh sawn, and this is the rot stain. This is the color that this will kind of turn over time as it oxidizes. It gives you that deep, rich cherry red. Some little burls. So, still kind of a cool piece. There's a little bit of figurey things going on there too, so yeah. And I think a lot of that's, it was like this when it was growing, so it's not like because I let it sit around for 4 years, it ended up rotting this much more. A lot of this stuff happens and starts and forms while the tree was still growing. Completely missed that one. But now actually, this is like, the curve is really showing itself now. So this is prime arched grain territory right here. So down here, pretty much just mush. But we got some nice, usable, good material coming up in this range. We got a little bit of crotch feather thing around this old limb knot thing here. And then this is a nice rotted pith area all the way up through here, and we get into what's going to be the rot void beneath here. And then this gets a little bit crazy up here where there's that limb and some crotch and figure and kind of weird stuff going on there. But this section here with this nice graceful arch is perfect for a nice long arched rail. It's about 4 feet long, so you're making something that needs a gradual arch in it. Here to there, the grain follows the curvature of the arch, and you got some nice flowing grain all the way through. These guys here are 19.5 through what looks like to be the narrowest point. So funny enough, like always, this log looked pretty small out in the log pile, but once I got it up here, I'm like, oh, it looks a little bigger. And now I'm measuring, I'm like, yeah, this is not a little tiny stick log. It's like a full-on proper log, and this is just like a small part of that bigger tree. Apparently I hit this. Now that blade's really done. Oopsies. Oh yeah, there's that rot. That's like a straight up void. Yeah. That is completely dry rotted. And it all goes down that way. Oh yeah, that's definitely got some punkiness to it, that's for sure. So yeah, not much going on here. This is all just mush all through here. You can see it's kind of the white fungi stuff happening in there, and it's just finding its way down to the other end. But we got some nice arch grain and stuff happening. Clear otherwise. The sections actually wanted are just fine and clear. And funny enough, I guess I just go back to the highboy for examples for this. When I made the cabriole legs, those are made from a hollow log. So the middle of the tree was completely rotted out, but it still had this perimeter of like usable material. So I sliced those up, and then like the middle-ish areas where the center of the tree would have been was completely gone. So I ended up just using the outside sections of the slabs to make those leg blanks. And that's another example of like, oh, it looks like crap or trash or whatever. You can still utilize it for those specific furniture parts. So I guess because the highboy is cherry and it was from some rotten-ish cherry, that's a good example for what I'm looking at when I'm seeing stuff like this. All right, let's see what the last one's looking like as far as that void down there. Oh yeah, it's just a straight up hole. Oh, this is cool. I'll show you that in a second. Let's see if I got enough water in here. Well, I got the part that matters. The rest of it's just a hole. Hole with an H. I guess both holes have H's. Holes without a W. Yeah, that's gone. That's mush. That's mush land. Well, we got a little section of crotch. Decent crotch section there for something. But let me show you this kind of craziness down here. This where like kind of limb thing was. It was kind of, it's kind of looking burly. So maybe it wasn't really a limb. Maybe it was a little bit of a burl starting to form there. So that's kind of a fun, wild looking thing. Otherwise, kind of the same thing as the other ones. You got your rot stain down the middle, your not rot stained stuff on the outsides, and then this whole area here is just, that's just mush. You can see it's like super, super dark. That's the mush section, and then this lighter section is the just a stained section. So you got sapwood, heartwood, rot stained, and actual rot. Full on rot. Just sounds like a little ant farm in the end of a log there, and one of the cracks. So we're gonna evict those guys real quick before we get these all stacked up and ready to dry. So this brings us to the end of this section of this tree's journey. All the stuff that I salvaged from that tree has been sawn into lumber. And at this point, the main trunk of the tree, which was, I think, the first thing that we sawed up, that was almost 3 years ago. So that stuff is drying, and basically whenever I'm ready to make the decision to start making my first Bombay out of it, I can do that, and I have all of the other accessory wood to go along with the main trunk, which will likely just become the drawer fronts and then the the curvy sides of the case. So this has been a really weird and incredible journey for this one, because almost feels like it was like yesterday that we went down to Cedar Rapids that morning. We had no idea what we were getting into. We got there and we realized that this was a lot more than we had really ever anticipated. The tree was still laying there in the grass. I had thought it'd be, bucked up already, but it was all still laying there whole. And there was a whole lot of tree there. Like, the pictures don't do it justice when you're looking at stuff like that. When we got there, we're like, yeah, we're gonna be here for a lot longer than we thought we would be. And it was a very long day, but it was one of the more fun, adventurous days that I've ever had. And I know several of you have reached out over the years with interest to purchase some of the cherry from this tree, and I have politely declined selling any of this because I just can't bring myself to part with any of it. It's such an amazing story. It's a once-in-a-lifetime tree, and this is the material that I want to keep with me going forward into my future, to be able to pull from, to make projects from, for the rest of my life. However, Josh did keep 3 of the slabs from the main trunk when he was here, so I know for sure as of right now that 2 of those slabs are still available at Woodstock Supply. They're in South Dakota. I'll leave a link to both of those slabs in case you're interested in either the slabs from the main trunk of the tree. But other than that, I can't wait for this stuff to, well, I can wait. I got plenty of time. I'm looking forward to having this stuff in the shop and start making probably the first Bombay at some point in the next few years. So that's going to do it for this series on this cherry tree from Iowa. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate if any questions or comments on sawing whatever this was, this curvy cherry log thing. Please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.